And thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. I love doing this when we are talking about something other than politics, the economy, etc. It's about the Black Stars. The World Cup is upon us now. The Black Stars have done 2 games now. The 2 games must give now the coaches a fair idea who is going to the World Cup, which of these players will go to the World Cup and who will stay, right? But also must give us a fair idea what our final selection and our team will look like in Brazil. So it's a good time to ask the final question. So we're going to do the Black Stars final scorecard today. Are we ready for Qatar? On the evidence of the 2 games we've played. I'm told we have one more game, but that game really will be a game for the team that has already been selected. And so, so let's get into that. My colleagues will join me pretty shortly with interesting thoughts on the matter. Before we sit down, I need to break down a few things, so just get an impression and an understanding of where we are. The Black Stars, the matches we played so far after we qualified, we've played a total of 7 matches. Out of that, we've won 3, we've lost 3, we've drawn 1, goals scored 7. So, and that for me was striking because what it means is that we are scoring an average of 1 goal per game. So we are doing a 1-goal project in the last 7 games we've played post the World Cup. Goals we've conceded, though, is 10. Goal difference of -3. So it's not really impressive at all by any stretch of imagination. We are not in good nick for a World Cup if you look at the evidence of this. And I'm going to compare this to those we'll be facing, at least in the group stages. You see, they have a far better record playing these games after they qualified than us, right? So that's the story we have there for where we are. And if we want to break it down, of course, the Africa Cup of Nations shambolic performance. We were all very disappointed, and that's what you see there, where it was very disappointing for many. And then you look at, we played Chile, we won. We played Japan, we lost. We also played Qatar, where, again, Ghana, we lost. Nicaragua, which we watched yesterday, was another one where we won. So, yeah, but Nicaragua, many people say we should have scored but easily. We had a lot of chances that we missed. We'll come to the striking department pretty shortly. And then we had Brazil, obviously, that we lost. People say, well, Brazil, walloped another African country 5. And so, yeah, maybe the 3 wasn't as bad after all. Now, let's go to our group, the group we'll be facing. We're going to be Portugal, Uruguay, Ghana, South Korea. Let's look at what they have done post-qualification compared to what I told you at the beginning and maybe get a picture of where we are. If you look at Portugal, they've lost 1-1-1. So they've won 3 of their games they've played so far. They've played a total of 6 games so far. We've played 7. They've won 3 of that. And they've lost 2 and drawn 1. So it's very comparable to our case because we also won 3 and lost 3, drawn 1. So Portugal, it seems like, in terms of the form going in, it's not too far away from us. It's within touching distance, except when you begin to look at the teams they played. They've played Spain, Czech Republic, Switzerland. They played Czech Republic against Switzerland, and they played Spain. So Spain is a top team. We played Brazil, right? So we played some good teams also. So Spain is not too far away from us on this one. Then you go to South Korea. They played Cameroon. Why are they playing Cameroon? They want a team that, plays like us, and they're getting Cameroon. They've won. They've played a total of 5. And they have won 3 of them, lost 1, and drawn 1. So you have 3 wins, 1 defeat, and 1 draw. So South Korea is doing slightly more, but of course they played less number of games compared to us. So they're not too far off also in terms of South Korea. And then you look at Uruguay, by the way. They've done 3 wins, 1 defeat, and 1 draw as well. Okay, I mean, you can look at it and say, well, maybe they're not too far away from all of us. But that's the picture in terms of those we are coming up against. So on the evidence of this and the evidence of those 2 games and one more an international friendly that we'll play before we go in, where do we stand? Are we ready for Qatar? I mean, have you seen enough to say Ghana is at least going to get out of our group when we get to Qatar? Listen, I don't know much about this, but I have the guys who do. Fencho is joining me, Gary Al Smith is joining me, and George Ado Jr., who has been traveling with the Stars, is going to give him his own assessment. But the thing I'm looking forward to, all of them will give me their 26-man squad. If they were the coaches, if they were Otoado and his staff, based on what they've seen so far, who will go, who will they select to be in their 26, and then who will miss out. And then most importantly, they'll come up here on our smart wall. I'll give them a football pitch, and they will slot in their first 11 to start in that first game when we play in the World Cup. Gary will give me his. Fent will give me his. Unfortunately, George is far away. He'll just mention his, and then we'll plot it here, and we'll analyze. I'm sure everybody's doing their own. So try and see whether yours. Start now. Take a pen, take a paper, jot down on 26. After the 26, do your first 11 for the first game. And then when the lads do theirs, you can compare to see, whether they agree with you or disagree. Very interesting conversation about to ensue. Join us after the break. Thank you very much for staying with us. As you can see, I have been compelled to take off my tie because, see the lads, by the way, in the studio, they came in saying, but we're talking about football. Why are you dressed like going for a job interview? So yeah, I had to comply. That's what happens when you're in the presence of Gary Al Smith and Fencho Tahiru Fencho, and they join me in the studio. Let's see what George Ado Jr. is wearing. Hello, George. George is in Paris, and it looks pretty cozy. What is cold there?
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold. I've not had to get to my hotel. I had to stop somewhere to finish the show before I do that. So it's a bit cold here, but I'm managing, right?
I see. Well, thank you for joining us. You are having fun there. Let's go straight to it. So we've seen the Black Stars now. There's a final match we played before we played our first game. Yeah. But
that's in November.
That's in November.
Yeah.
Would it be after the tournament has started?
No.
Before. But
during our camping.
During our camping. But that will definitely be after we have made our final selection and presented it.
17 November.
Okay, so that match will be a match for our final 26.
That's most likely, yeah.
Okay, so the question that everybody is asking, and that's why we're doing this. Fence first. Based on what we've seen where we are now, we've played 2 games. It's finished now. It's finished. Mm-hmm. Are we ready?
Certainly not. I don't think anybody is ready 6 weeks before the World Cup. Okay. Especially for Ghana, because we do have that kind of history. And I will take you back to our very first World Cup in 2006. 6 weeks before the World Cup, we were not ready. Pretty much pre-tournament friendly matches, we didn't do exactly too well, from what I remember. We played against Mexico before that. We lost the famous Michael Essien back pass. We lost that game. It was played in the UK. Then we played against Turkey. It was 1-1. The only game we really won before that 2006 World Cup was the match against South Korea.
Okay.
And then Jamaica. Jamaica were ranked outside the top 100 at the time.
Okay.
You go to 2010. Before the 2010 World Cup, we lost a friendly game to Bosnia. Okay. And then after that, listen to this. We got thumped by the Netherlands by 4-1.
All before the 2010?
This was during the preparations.
Okay.
And then the only game we won was a 1-0 victory against Latvia. And it was the first match Kevin Prince-Boateng played ever in a Black Stars jersey. Latvia. And yet we went to the World Cup in 2010. We had the best World Cup ever. The preparations were never cozy. Even in 2014, okay? We played another friendly against the Netherlands in the build-up to that tournament. We lost that by 1-0, okay? And then the only friendly match we won before that tournament was the 4-0 victory against South Korea, in which Jordan Ayew scored his one and only hat-trick for the Black Stars. We went into that tournament. Of course, we had a good game against Germany. We got kicked out in the group stages. So I'm saying that historically, as far as this country is concerned, we have never been cocksure about our chances going into any competition, especially the World Cup. And we've never been able to read meanings into our friendly games before the competition. The friendly matches have never served us any proper notice of how well we will do in any competition. And certainly, this tournament, in my opinion, wouldn't be any different. So right now, from the evidence of our performances, it is obvious that we are not ready.
Okay.
But we have been there.
Okay, pause for me. Gary, then. I'm listening to him as, somebody who just enjoys Black Stars football, not as much as I follow my team elsewhere. But I enjoy Black Stars. And I'm like, okay, then that's no problem. We're fine, right? So people who are concerned on Facebook, and Twitter shouldn't be worried. But from the expert eye, you agree with that?
Otuado said yesterday, by this time, actually, that the team is ready. He was asked a direct question by George, I think. George is on the line. I think there are only 2 reporters at that presser from Ghana. And he said they are ready. They only have to work on, they create a lot of chances, he says. They don't score, and they have to score more. They have to be more clinical. They have to, know each other's runs. And he mentions that, it's normal that in yesterday's game against Nicaragua, young players started, new players started, and so it will take time for them to gel, but they are ready. Then he's asked, how ready? And he says, but that is something he said to another media house. He said to Bild in Germany, that 70% of the squad that played against Nicaragua and Brazil are going to Qatar.
Okay, that's
70%. And consider how many players were in this squad? 26.
9.
What?
28.
28.
He called 29. Tete didn't show up, so 28.
Okay, 28. So out of this 28, take 70% of that, and he says they are going to Qatar. Now, consider a couple of things. The Black Stars record, actually, in the last 2 years, has been nothing short of dismal.
True.
That's
and
true.
it really shows our level. For a large part of the year, in fact, almost the whole year, except for 1 month, I think, we've never been in the top 10 African countries.
Okay.
African rankings. And it is the true level of the Black Stars now. We are not top 10 because we beat Nicaragua, ranked 139th in the world. We drew Ethiopia.
Wow.
Yeah, we drew Ethiopia last November, ranked 132 at the time. Drew Gabon, ranked 90 or something like that. And then Comoros, 132nd, they beat us. These are the teams, and the only teams we have beaten this year, 2 games, Nicaragua and Madagascar, who were ranked 100 and something as well at the time we met them. So that is our true level. Somebody mentioned something that prompted me to go and check this, that the Black Stars have not beaten anybody decent in about 3 years.
Okay, but we beat Nigeria.
It was 2 draw games, technically.
You get it?
Okay, well,
You see?
Yeah.
So
we knocked out Nigeria, but we didn't win.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the true readiness of the Black Stars. Forget the rhetoric. I mean, I like...
No, but the picture you're painting is a pretty stark one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, on the face of the pink sheets.
Yeah.
So if Otuado says we are ready, he's probably seen something that we haven't. But for the large chunk of football watching people who understand how the Black Stars work, and it's significant because, you see, the squad that he played Brazil and Nicaragua with, it's not a bad squad at all. It's quite a decent squad.
Actually, that's the squad that qualified us for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, with the infusion of the new guys.
Yeah.
So let me be clear in saying the starting 11 against Nicaragua is not a bad squad at all.
Okay.
It's not a bad squad at all. However, when they played, then we realized it's a lot of good names, but the chemistry is not there.
I see. Let me bring in George. George, so sure. You, thankfully, did you ask the question about are we ready?
Yeah, I asked the question about are we ready?
Okay.
And He said just about. I think he put a percentage. He said about 70%. So he said, yeah, we're about getting there. But yeah, that was basically the answer. I think the next question that came, I asked him a question about whether he thinks he needs new players to join the squad going forward, and he says, oh no, he's still got majority of the guys he's sending to the World Cup in this squad. So the window in October that players are going to be playing, of course, from now until the World Cup squad is released, will give him another opportunity to do one or two things, but not major changes at all in what we have. So it's about what we have got in terms of the squad.
Often when journalists we ask a question, we expect an answer or know an answer, but we ask to see if it confirms what we suspect. I believe that possibly is in your case too, because you were very close to the team. You saw them close up in the training and warm up before the play, etc., and you must have asked that question because of something in your mind. What was it? Did you feel, based on what you've seen in those two games, etc., close up, that something convinced you that we are 70% ready for this?
Yeah, I think we don't need to panic. That's for a fact. But the reason why I asked the question, especially with the World Cup squad and the players that he has, is I think there's some players who are knocking the door and who need to be given an opportunity from where I sit in some of the deep areas. Because, for instance, in the midfield, and looking for somebody who can progress the ball, somebody who can send in those passes. Inaki Williams was making fantastic runs all on the day, but there was not quite the link. Okay, there was not quite the link. Kofi Che had a very, very good game, obviously. But when you're talking about the master progressor of a ball, it's in the shape of Thomas Partey. And if Thomas Partey is not fit, or if Thomas Partey is injured, or Thomas Partey is not available for the Black Stars, what will be the answer to that? And that's why players like Salid Samid, who plays for Lens, may be given an opportunity, could be looked at. And again, if you look at the wingers that we have got, there's still some guys knocking out. And even for the strikers, there's still some guys knocking in there. So I asked the question just to gauge exactly what he was thinking in his mind as well about this World Cup spot that he's got. So he gives us the window there. He says that it's possible for players to come through. And so I guess maybe we could see some 3 new faces or 4 new faces come to be part of the squad. That means that some members of the squad may still not make the World Cup. And that's why I pushed that question to him. About the readiness, I thought that he's got great materials, but it's very, very difficult for coaches to put, new boys together. Check out the starting 11 against Nicaragua right from the back. Daniel Amate, Mohamed Salisu, even though they played in the 3-back against Brazil the second half, were barely playing together for the first time. Ali was giving a run out at right back. Gideon Mensah was playing at left back. In the midfield, Kofi Che, Idrisu, Mohamed Kudus playing as false 9, Inaki Williams, Osman Bukari, Fatawu Sahaku, Richard Ofori, and for some time he had not started games. It was fairly a new squad, and they need to find the level in terms of the cohesion, and that was like the new phase. And then we have the old phase as well. So there's a lot of blending to do, and I can understand why Gary is worried, because we don't have the time. We don't have the time to blend these guys together. We don't have a lot of time. The World Cup camp is just 1 week, so we've got a lot of thinking to do before the World Cup starts. But of course, we've got players, and we've got some players knocking as well if we can find a blend.
I mean, George, this is $1 million question, the most controversial question going into the 2 games. We had some players who had switched nationality joining us for the very first time. You've seen them up close, right? Did they improve us, or did they retrogress? Because remember that team that qualified, that they've been together for so long. Now we're bringing in new names, people who, the controversy then was why, Babu should work for, others to come and chop. So they are now in the camp. You were close to the camp. Did they improve the team?
Yeah, in many ways. And the Brazil game was a perfect example. In the first half, we almost played the team that played against Nigeria.
Okay.
We had issues against top opposition. And I don't even think in the World Cup, unless we play against Brazil, we may not get close to that. Portugal and South Korea, Uruguay are trying, but they are not at the level of Brazil. So that gave us a very good idea of where we were. And then the substitutions reigned in the second half. Mohamed Salisu came on, and we saw the huge difference in the back 3. So I'd say that the boys have come in and have improved the squad. They have given the coaches, more ammunition And it means that the coaches can also think about various ways of, deploying them and using them. You look at the squad that was set in, and Pence gave us the right number, 28. But there were some players who were not given the chance to play. So, like Joseph Adu didn't get a chance at all in those 2 games. Stephen Ambrosius didn't get a chance as well. Even though I understand that for centre-backs, it was very delicate against Nicaragua to have made a substitution, especially when the team was just up by 1-0, knowing how Ghanaians react to all of this. Because remember, we beat Nicaragua by 1-0, and it looks like there's a big funeral in Ghana because we didn't get a number of goals we wanted. How about if you change the centre back because we wanted to see Stephen Ambrosius and 1 corner kick and Nicaragua scored and it was 1-1. That would even be more problems there. So I can try to understand that. But of course, someone like Bani as well was given just a minute. So some players didn't get the chance to show what they've got. But for those new boys who have come in, I tell you, they have added a lot of quality to the team and are giving us more options going forward, for a fact.
Okay, but that's what we saw on the field. But you were close. Give me this before I come to the studio. People feared that there might be tension between these new players who are switching camp and the old players who possibly will think they've sacrificed enough for the team. When you watch the body language, the way they trained before they came out and played, did you sense that was a problem, or they've been welcomed and the team is gelling, behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think that they've been welcomed very well. Okay. And I think what most people have not paid attention to is Coach Otuado played the politics very well.
Okay.
And so when you walk into any strong room, there's politics. There are old guys, there are experienced guys. You must have a way to introduce the new ones so that they don't feel threatened, so that they don't feel that you don't trust them anymore. And I think fairly, he has given everybody a chance, and the technical team have had answers to questions on their minds about, all the players that they've got. So I'd say they have been welcomed very well, and they feel a part of the team.
Okay, Frank, that question. So we have new players coming in over these 2 games.
Yeah.
We've never had before, some switching camps. He was close to the team. He says, well, they improved the squad overall. And then also, the things we didn't see, he confirms body language was good, gelling was good, players had accepted them. So no problem then. Do you agree with that verdict? That those new players, the switching camps, switching nationality players have helped?
Yeah, I think for sure. When you look at the performances of some of the players, especially for someone like Salisu, there is no doubt that he was probably the best defender in both games. And in one of the matches, he only came on in the second half. Okay. So he's a player that we badly needed. And now you can tell that all of the wait has been worth it, because he's been one player that we've chased. And the interesting thing is, he didn't even need to switch nationality. He's Ghana born and bred. He grew up in Kumasi. So he just said he wasn't ready. But now we finally got him, and he's a massive upgrade on anything we have defensively. Okay. So that alone, straightforward, is a big deal. Now he's played 2 matches. One of it came on in the second half, and Ghana has yet to concede a goal in the minutes in which Salisu has been on the pitch. Before he came, we had conceded 17 goals in 7 games. It makes no sense. So that's a big improvement. Then you have someone like Inaki Williams. I think for one thing, we have a player that is capable of doing so much more than any of our attackers. Mm-hmm. He's very good at playing through the channels. He's also an outlet when he has to be. And unfortunately for him, or for all of us, is that perhaps for many people, we thought we were getting a player that was cast in the mold of Asamoah Gyan. But that's not the truth, because he doesn't look like the kind of player that can play as a low man up top. So now the management will have to find a way of trying to get the best out of him. But is he an improvement on the strikers that we have? Absolutely, because when he also came on in the second half, we saw that he did so many things differently and better than someone like Afena-Gyan, who started the game against Brazil. So there is another improvement there. Tariq, we've not seen much of him so far to pass any judgment whatsoever, because he didn't even play the second game. And he came on in the second half.
Why didn't he play the second?
He was injured, okay. So it was a precautionary measure. And then you're looking at the 2 others that came. Stephen Ambrosius was never given a chance. He didn't even play 1 minute. So we can't tell whether he's a defender. So we can't tell whether he would be an improvement on anything that we have at the moment. And then you have another player, Ransford Yeboah, Koningsdorfer. He came on, he played like 8 minutes. All right, so he didn't do much. So I really can't pass judgment on whether or not he improved his squad or he doesn't. But on the face of it, the ones that we badly needed that have come in, for example, Salisu, Enaki, and maybe Tariq, we can positively say that these guys have added a certain value to the team that we probably didn't have in the past. But ultimately, I think, going forward, what is really crucial for now, I think the squad is settled. I think
settled.
Okay,
we'll go to the smart wall soon, and then you tell me what your settled squad looks like.
I think
26 and then 11.
Yeah. So I really do think that the squad is settled. I think Otuado knows.
But if you listen to Otuado, he says 70% will go, which means the 30% still to come in that we haven't watched already.
No, the 30% could come from, because he took 28 players, he can only take 26, which means that there are others who were in camp for the Brazil and Nicaragua games. This is what it means. It means that basically there are some players that were in this team against Brazil and Nicaragua that might not be going. But there are others who may not necessarily be players that had never represented.
But only two will drop off because if it's 26 for the World Cup.
So that's the thing. So he could, or he could drop as many as 8 of them and bring in 8 new players. Anything is possible.
I mean, Gary, so let's try and break down the area of the pitch. And I get a sense from looking at the stats that a biggest problem, goal scoring. I mean, we played 7 games. My guys checked for me before we came on. Since we qualified, we've scored 7 goals. One goal a game averaging. That's terrible.
Well, yeah, that's it is terrible.
And you can't.
Especially if you have conceded more.
Exactly, we considered 10. I mean, -3. That was. That is a big problem, is it not? I mean, we created a lot of chances against Nicaragua. We couldn't score. Do you agree that is possibly a biggest problem going into the World Cup?
It is. It is. Unlike the 2010 era or the Serbian era, when we didn't score many. But when we scored, it was game over. Yeah. I mean, everybody knew that when Ghana scored, it became almost cliche, right? That one-goal project and all that. Now, goal scoring is our biggest problem. And like you said...
But we have some good players up front, don't
we? Do we?
I mean, but I'm talking about those players. I mean, I watched, was it Kudus, who played in one of the games, Ajax. I think it was in the Europa League.
Champions League.
So
he scored this fantastic belt off a goal.
He has hit a purple patch over the past months, where his coach in the Ajax team has shunted him up front because the background was that Kudus wanted to force a move out of the club because he wasn't getting playing time. Because the players he's fighting or he's angling for positions with are sort of untouchables in the Ajax team. Also, hint, hint, they are Dutch national team players. And in the World Cup year, it's going to be difficult to
displace them.
Yes. So in order to let him stay, I'm thinking that the agreement was that you stay, we are going to give you games. But we are going to make you play up front because we see that quality in you. Not out of the blue, not out of the vacuum, but actually in preseason he had been good up front for Ajax.
So you're confirming my point.
So hold on. I'm coming. They shunt him up front and he's scoring the goals.
Yeah.
But he says in an interview that playing up front is not his thing.
So where does he want to play?
No, the way he plays in the Black Stars, in the middle. Where creation is Kudus' strong point.
So he's going to be behind the main striker.
Ideally, that is where he plays at Ajax as a false 9. But Ajax play him typically as a proper striker.
Are you suggesting that the Black Stars, Otuado should do same and push him up front?
That is the big question. But do you want to do that when you've got, for example, Inaki Williams around? And then what happens to Jordan Ayew?
That is the most controversial one. And the many who say, go on. The many who say the Jordan brothers, time's up. Ayew brothers, time's up for them.
Yeah.
Benches where they should be.
One pandemic at a time. One pandemic at a time. Kudus to play as a midfielder or as a striker. That's something that Otto has to, because the guy has been prolific in the past month in that position. Football form says that do that for him when he comes to the Black Stars. Because in the last 2 games, to be absolutely honest, Kudus has been what a lot of people don't like about him when he comes to the Black Stars, which is ball hogging. Touches the ball too many times and doesn't release the ball. So that prompted a tweet from Asamoah Gyan during the game, where Asamoah Gyan says it's frustrating as a striker that you are moving into the great positions, but nobody is passing you. That was a clear jab at Kudus. Okay. And something we have to. So when he goes up front, he somehow gets a striker's instinct. He touches the ball 1-2, he's shooting. So are we going to do that? And if we wanted to do that, wouldn't it have been better to do it at least in the first or second half against Brazil, or in the first?
We didn't try it at all.
We didn't try it at all. Okay. So that's a Kudus question. Back to the main question you asked me.
Striking.
We are not scoring goals. Yeah. We don't know where the goals are going to come from. Afena Gyan clearly suffered the deficit of help, assistance when he's playing. He was moving into good positions like Inaki. He wasn't being given the ball. How do you expect him to score goals?
Okay.
Conversely, as Fento would say, the strongest position for the Black Stars seems to be the defense.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not happened like that in a while.
You're making a point about...
No, I was saying that...
Solving our striking problem.
Yeah, I have said many times that I think it is possible to get Kudus up front.
Yeah.
Up top. I have made starting 11s that have had Kudus Mohammed playing up top. And it is a system that I believe the coaches must try. And I think it will work. Because you see, Kudus Mohammed can keep telling himself that he prefers to play in midfield. But the stats, the numbers don't support that. Even when he was at Northland, he played more games as a striker than he did as a midfielder.
Did he score more goals up there?
Kudus Mohammed has more goals than assists. So the whole creator tag, I don't get it. Because when he plays behind strikers, he struggles to find them.
So is it possible it's him who is feeding Otoado the vibe that play me in that normal possibly?
That is the thing. So footballers had a certain ego. Kudus is very skillful. And with his skill set, he feels like when he plays in the middle of the park, that is when he's able to express himself. And expression is everything when it comes to footballers. You have to remember that when he plays up top, he doesn't touch the ball a lot of times. And it's the same even at Ajax. So he makes better use of the ball because the ball is scarce. So when it comes, all he's trying to do is be efficient with it. Whereas when he's in midfield, he touches the ball way too many times. So he knows that if he tries a certain skill and it doesn't come off, he has another chance to try it and another chance to try it. And that's when Kudus will try about 50 360s in a single match because he wants to turn you inside and out and do an Abedi thing when the simplest thing to do perhaps is to release the ball.
So are you also suggesting to fix our striking problem going into the World Cup, put Kudus up front?
That's right.
So you're saying Kudus is the solution to our problem?
Yeah.
What do you do with Inaki?
And there's a way to do it alongside Inaki. I would.
So you're playing two up top?
No, I think yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a certain formation like a 3-5-1-1 formation would work. Okay, so if you play a 3-5-1-1 formation, you have three centre backs. Okay, so you have Amati on the right, you have Jiku in the middle, Salisu on the left as our defenders.
Which is proven to work.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then as wing backs, you can put Tariq on the right. You can put Gideon.
Don't give us that. We'll go to the ball and you tell me very shortly.
Then you put Kudus right behind Inaki Williams, and then he and Inaki can interchange because Inaki himself likes to play in the channels.
Okay,
but he has to be further forward.
Let me take quick points before I take the break, and then we'll go to the smart wall, which is that. So you say the history shows in the build-up to these big tournaments, as in the past, we haven't played great, but as 2010 shows. Sometimes we go in on the back of such poor record and still do well.
That's right.
So 2006.
Okay, so on the what's your verdict then on this then? Are you again confident that in spite of everything that's happened, we'll at least get out of the group stage? What's your take on that?
I think the preparations will tell. Okay, so when we go to camp,
but preparation is preparation. That's it.
No. When we
don't have enough time at all when it comes to preparation. This is just a unique World Cup. We all know this.
When we get
the leagues end in November. I think the very next week, the tournament is starting. So the camp is going to be the shortest camp you ever have.
That is
so
true.
if this 2 games hasn't gotten you to get convinced yet, nothing will.
Well, you see, that's the thing though, because whereas we are complaining bitterly about the Black Stars, our opponents aren't necessarily
doing it.
great.
Yeah, I mean, they're not pulling up trees.
Exactly. Portugal lost yesterday.
So are we going out of the? Are we getting out of the group or not?
It's hard to tell.
Okay.
The Oracle comes from now.
I hope this is not about patriotism.
No. I've said. I mean, you know.
Or sarcasm.
Or sarcasm.
Me. I mean, they say I'm mad. They say I'm crazy. I said we are going to the quarterfinal. I mean, you see.
George has something to say, so quickly. Hello, George.
I especially on the Kudus thing, and I would, and I'm going to say this based on the bit of interaction I've had with the technical team. Now, the Kudus playing as a false nine that works in Ajax and other places, as we have seen in his career, is because there is a certain discipline to ensure that he stays up there and doesn't drop in for any reason or any just for no reason. He stays up there, even if he's frustrated without getting the ball. He stays up there because there are great players around him who will make sure that ball gets to him in the end. The problem in the Black Stars is it's a national team and everybody is playing and everybody's trying. If there's a slight problem in the midfield, Kudus is likely to drop and start looking for the ball and start tackling, which is his thing. So you see that naturally happening even when you have said Kudus is playing a false nine. So you have to think about it. Like we tried, like it was tried in the game against Nicaragua. Remember, the Nicaragua position was not at that level. Just imagine that we're being pressed so hard and Mohamed Kudus in the first 15 minutes has not gotten that ball that will make him the false nine. He would naturally join Thomas Partey and the rest in looking for the ball and fighting for the ball. So it makes who plays behind Inaki very, very critical. And it also tells that you really have to get somebody who can send the ball very, very fast for the runs of Inaki Williams. So the Kudus Mohamed thing is that. But if you look at the Ajax and you look at the Deutschland and all where he's played, there is a structured system and the players behind him are making sure that ball gets to him quick enough. Even with that, he gets frustrated a number of the times. And when he gets frustrated, especially the national team, is likely to drop and help the team because the team is being taught that when it's not working, we all fight hard, we all work hard. And if he has to drop, he will drop. But you see the discipline with someone like maybe say Inaki, he will still always stay top. No matter what the problem is, he will come and help a bit, but averagely he'll be there. You won't get that from Kudus Mohamed because he will be tempted to come in and help the midfield at any point in time. And that can also, be another thing. And so for the technical team, it's one of those things that they are also looking at in trying to deploy him very well. And again, they say, and the technical team say that every team they play for every team, it requires a different approach. So there's nothing like a flat 3-back. It could be a 4-back based on the opponents that they're playing. And we also determine which of the players will suit based on the kind of wingers that you're coming up against and all. So the Kudus matter is a big one. And I think the technical team are still trying to wrap their heads around it.
So in terms of, and very briefly, George, so how do you solve that striking problem? Both gentlemen in the studio believe Kudus is the solution. Is it for you?
Kudus can help. Okay,
so if he can help, then somebody else is leading the solution. Who is?
I think Inaki Williams, and we have to find him. That's the first thing. We have to find Inaki Williams. You have to get him the balls. And because there are two things that you realize when he plays, that he's making runs that also free a lot of wingers to do what they want to do. So a lot of the wingers were getting onto the ball, Osman Bukhari and the likes, because of the runs that he was making. So it's either you are getting Inaki Williams to score, which he can do, or he's making great runs that will help the wingers to latch on. And when they latch onto that, they have to make sure they're scoring. Because yesterday he made great runs that helped them to get onto the ball, but they were not able to,
another problem he just touched on is that the goals are not being shared. I mean, we don't have goal scorers all over the pitch, and that is going to be a problem. Listen, I'm going to take a break. When I return, I'm going to first take fence with me to the smart wall, and I'm going to give him a football pitch, a white one, not the one with the green grass on. And then he has to tell me first his 26. Out of the 26 that will go to the World Cup, he needs to isolate for me his top 11 that will play the first game. So he needs to know, the coach must know his starting 11 almost by now. What is his? And then Gary will tell me and come and do the same. And then George will analyze that for me before I wrap up. As I said at the beginning, I hope you've done yours already. See how it compares with theirs. After the break, we'll go through that. Thank you very much. So that's Fent, and he's going to go through his starting 11 first, and then he'll give me his bench. Together, that should give us 26 players. Okay. So Fent, let's start. Who is your goalkeeper?
Well, for experience sake, I'm going to go with Jojo Wallacott. Okay.
Oh, forgive me.
Oh, that it's working.
Go.
It's working.
It's working out. Okay, go.
Yeah, so Jojo for me.
Okay.
He will start. I was contemplating between him and Manaf because we're going to play a 3-back system that will require the goalkeeper playing from the back a lot. And I've seen from Jojo Wallacott in the last game, his passing has improved.
So he's
his
good with
distribution has improved.
Okay.
So I think he's good for me. On the left side of centre-back is Salisu. I think he's the best player in this position. His control and his ability to progress the ball to the left is really good. He also has a certain ability of blocking chances. So this entire space is one area that he can command quite comfortably.
Okay.
I think Jiku will occupy the central position for me because I feel like when you look at all the centre-backs that we have, he's the one that probably has that ruthless nature. He's the one that's always going for the hard tackles. So a player like that centrally is good. He also is very good when it comes to progressing the ball. And then Amate will be here for me. I think Amate has an ability that is similar to Salisu's, an ability to progress the ball centrally, and then which is where the midfielders can always come in and then slot in that centre-back position. Okay. Because when you play a 3-back system like this, there are instances where your centre-backs will need to progress the ball. Okay, so you need a centre-back that has an ability to play the ball and pick a pass.
And he does that for Leicester a bit.
And he does that for Leicester a few times. He's also a player that has played at the right-back position a few times.
Yeah.
So going up and down is not necessarily a problem for him. So for him on the right side of a back three, it works perfectly for me. This back three system means that we have to deploy wing-backs, okay, because it means that at the moment we're going to stack the midfield, and then the attack will be slightly light, which means we need our wing-backs contributing to attack. On the left side, I'm going to go with Evans Mensah. Okay, he plays in France now instead of Baba Rahman because I feel like he's got...
My handwriting is better than yours.
It's fine. It's the board, don't worry.
Blame the board.
It's the board, don't worry. So you've got Evans Mensah. And I say this because I feel like he's younger and he's got more energy than Baba Rahman, even though Baba Rahman is probably more experienced. So I will go with Gideon. Over here, I'll go with another young player,
Who?
Tariq.
Okay.
You know, it is something that he does quite nicely. He has with a Q, but it's fine. It's something that he does.
Yours is handwriting, mine is spelling.
So it's something he does quite well
Okay.
when he plays for Brighton. This season, he hasn't had a lot of games to his name. But we know him. He has reputation. And I'm choosing him over Odoi, mostly because, again, age is not on Odoi's side. And there'll be a lot of running up and down.
Yeah.
So I think a younger player might work. So this is what my defensive setup will look like.
Okay.
I'm going to go with something very unconventional.
Midfield.
The midfield.
Okay.
Because we have a history of conceding too many goals, I think naturally we need to pack the midfield. Put a few bodies in there that can help these defenders. Okay, so I'm going to go centrally, and this is going to be controversial. But this guy, Salis, okay, he plays in France, never been given an opportunity with the Black Stars. Otuado said he invited him to be on his reserve list for the Kirin Cup in Japan, and the player said he was too good to be on the reserve list, so he turned it down. And then he wasn't called up for this because he turned down the previous one. But I think the same attitude we had when we approached Salisu and were patient enough to deal with all of his excuses, we should have the same for this guy because he's a very, very good midfielder. And he plays 90 minutes week in, week out in France. I'm choosing him over Baba Idrisu because even though Baba Idrisu works really hard, when it comes to his distribution, when he has the ball, it's not very good. And we are not a team that now dominates possession. And when you look at the teams that we will be coming up against, we will definitely have the lift of the ball when it comes to all of these things. South Korea, they are brilliant with the ball. They never stop running. We're going to have the lesser possession. So we need to...
he's holding.
We say, yeah, so we need to make better use of the possession. And I will choose him. And then this is what I will do. I will put Shre here. We saw him yesterday. He was brilliant. He is very patient. His ball progression is good. And his long balls are much better. Then I'll put Partey alongside him. So 3 midfielders here. So Partey, Salis, and Shre. And this is where I'll slot Kudus, okay? just in front of them.
But you just said that you're going to play him
on.
as your main striker.
No, I won't.
Okay.
So, and then you have Inaki in front of him. All right. So this is a 3-5-1-1 formation. If you play Kudus here in this hole, Kudus and Inaki can interchange positions every now and then. Okay. So he can occupy the left channel, the right channel. At any given time, there is an opportunity for him to be the furthest forward player. And for me, that is non-negotiable. But this would mean a lot of discipline because we already have a lot of bodies in midfield. His tendency to try and withdraw
come back and
try to get a lot of the ball will be high because naturally that's his instinct. So he needs to be disciplined and trust that these guys will get the ball to him. It doesn't matter that he touches the ball 5 times. But when he gets that, he has to be efficient with it. So far, that's what he's doing for Ajax. He can do similar for the Black Stars. So for me, I think this gives us a solidity that we have lacked
Very interesting.
in all of our last few games. And I think that this can give us goals. On the counter-attack, we've got ability. These players, Thomas Partey, Tre, they all have shown that they can score goals as well. And our wing-backs, once they get ball into the middle.
So on the bench, Jordan, are you on the bench?
Andre,
are you on the bench?
Yeah.
And everybody else that...
everybody else.
Okay, but very interesting, very interesting. So that's Fent's starting 11 for the World Cup first game. Fent is going to take a seat, and then Gary is joining me right now to see if he agrees with it. So he has Jojo, he has Jiku, he has Salisu, he has Amate, all in defense. And then he has Tariq, he has Partey, Salis, Tre in the midfield. Of course, the wings are Tariq and Mensah. He has Kudus and he has Inaki up front with Kudus right behind.
You don't have
Inaki.
time.
So let's go. Let's go. What's yours?
Jojo Wolacott.
So you agree?
For consistency
Goalkeeper.
purposes and because he's played with the team and there seems to be an understanding. And I think he's not a bad goalkeeper. You know, the thing about commanding the back, has come up a few times, but I think he's settled. And also because, Richard Kingston seems to like him, who is a goalkeeper's trainer. So I'll go, just because of time, Daniel Amate, okay?
Okay, so you also Amate?
Amate, yes. Alexander Jiku as well.
I didn't say Jiku. Jiku is just saying so that we can follow.
Okay.
Because when I'm going over, I might forget. Don't worry. We'll...
the eraser, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and then there's...
So
Amate.
So yeah, there's...
You want to see my bad handwriting?
Yeah, I want to see it.
All right. So...
Oh, forgive me. Yeah. Here we go.
Highlighter.
Yeah. So what? Amate? Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, yep. I like that color. I'm changing that. Okay, great. Let's erase this. And let's change that. Don't worry, Gary. I've got you. Here we go.
And then...
Okay, so Amate?
Yes.
Okay.
Amate. That's it.
Then you have Jiku?
Jiku.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Jiku.
Okay.
And then Salisu.
Okay.
All right. So because of time.
This is the same as Fent?
Yes.
Same as
three
Fent.
back seems to,
Settle.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy is very interesting. He just walked into the team.
Okay.
For a lot of people, right? So the only change I would make, you said the first game.
Yes.
Portugal.
Portugal.
Because of the profile of players they have.
Okay.
I would play Dennis Odoi. That is the main difference for me.
Okay. Instead of Tariq.
Okay. Not because of anything, but because of the height advantage. Portugal have proven in their last many games that they like a lot of air balls.
Yeah, of course. You have Ronaldo.
And a lot of jumpers and all that. Tariq does not have that in his locker.
Okay.
So that is the main difference for me. Everything else pretty much remains the same. Salis, who mentions.
Salis? But he wasn't in the team, was it?
He wasn't in the team up to 2 days ago.
No, I'm talking about Salis.
That's what I'm saying. So he says 70%.
Yes.
And we have one more.
So you think that he's
spoken to him.
Okay.
He's going to speak to him again.
Okay.
We know he's going to speak to him again. Whether the lad will agree to be, but we need him in that 26. And I'll add.
Interesting.
And that's a good thing. It's a 26-man team. Any serious World Cup coach, because the World Cup is 7 games in the end.
Yeah.
Any serious World Cup coach will need maybe 18 core players. So the others is great.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So and then Kudus here.
Same formation.
3-5-2.
Okay.
3-5-2 is what seems to.
Who do you have there?
Gideon ahead of Babaraman. Gideon Mensah. For the same reasons Fence gave. So the only big difference for me
Let's go to Dennis. Okay, of course, you have Partey.
Yes, we need this man fit.
Yeah.
We need this man fit.
So you have a 3 back.
Yeah.
All of you are playing 3 back.
Yeah, 3 back.
Okay, interesting.
Depending on the opponent, yes, Kofi Tre. Depending on the opponent.
You also have Tre.
Yes, Kofi Tre. If you watched him in the 2 games, so what does he have in his kits? He stops the ball well. He has a calmness about him that is unhurried.
Okay.
While those players, he's unhurried.
Yeah.
But he's progressing the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he seems to have the ball stuck at his feet, which you need in a World Cup.
Okay.
We need to keep the ball as much as possible because the 3 teams we are going to play are super at progressing the ball and being fast.
Okay.
So you need 1, 2, 3, especially. They are going to be the engine of our team.
Okay.
So
very interesting. So they all agree. George, do you agree with this?
I don't know if you can hear me. Evans, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
All right. So I disagree with the goalkeeper who starts.
Okay.
I would let.
There are a few of our cameramen who are giving you thumbs up and say, they don't like Wollacott at all.
Yeah,
okay.
I disagree. It's not that Wollacott's a bad goalkeeper. I think that Richard Ofori is imposing, and Richard Ofori communicates much better.
Okay, so that is George's, right? George, this is yours.
Yes, that's mine. Okay. And then for the defense, I'm still going. I'm doing the 3-5-1-1 like Fence, and I'm going with Salisu, Mate, and Jiku. But here is the thing. For me, for the right wing back, I'm going for Aliou Seydou.
So all of us have different right wing back.
Right. Yes, I'm going for Aliou Seydou. Tariq Lamptey can come in the second half, later sometime. I'll be good. But of course, Gideon Mensah is in for me. And then here is one. In the midfield, I'm going for Thomas Partey. If Salis is in the squad, I'll take him. But if it's not, it's Thomas Partey, Baba Idrisu, and Mohamed Kudus. And behind Inaki for me is Dede. Because Dede Ayew, the captain.
Okay.
Because we are playing in Qatar. We're talking about somebody who has been at the World Cup 3 times. I'll use him in the first 45 minutes. And if it doesn't work out and he's worn out, I'll take him out. But I'll need him to start that game against Portugal for a number of reasons.
But what do you do with Kudus?
Yeah, no, the Kudus is there. Kudus is in there. Kudus is in there.
Okay, I see. Okay, so you will go for Salis.
No, he says if Salis is available.
If Salis is available.
If Salis is available, I'll go for Salis over Idrisu, of course.
Okay, so you've dropped Tre in your midfield.
Yes, I'll bring Tre later, and so immediately Dede is not. Dede cannot continue from. If I think he can't continue, my first substitution is Dede out, Tre in, Kudus then plays behind Inaki. That's what I'll do.
Very interesting. I think, but this looks very settled, with the exception of Dennis. And Tariq, and I think
Aliou
Seydou.
Okay,
yeah.
But I think the consensus there is that the Ayew brothers, they don't get into the starting lineup.
So again,
even for George, even for you, I mean, you said Dede, it's shaky. You will start him because of experience.
He will start.
Because of experience. But if you're watching for 45 minutes and deciding whether you want to continue in.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
yes,
you'll make it a point.
I've said, and this is being consistent with what I've said over the period. It was this time last year, actually, that I first made the observation that I would always have Andre Ayew in my Black Star squad, but I won't start him.
Okay.
Because of the reasons George gave.
Should Jordan go to the World Cup?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
George, should Jordan be called?
Of course.
Jordan will go. And you see, Evans, Jordan will go. If I change this and I decide to play 4-4-2, or I decide to play a 4-2-3-1, my right wing is likely to be taken by Jordan because of his work rate.
Okay. Fent also agree Jordan should go.
In 3-4-3 formation,
okay.
Jordan.
Who will you definitely leave out based on if somebody who was in the last 2 games, part of the squad, but you shouldn't go? That's a difficult one. I know. Give me one name.
Hold on. Fent, go.
Fent, who?
It's difficult.
Who should not go?
It's too difficult.
I don't. Rashford, what should not go? We've not.
Okay, George, who should be left home?
No, it's too difficult.
Yeah, but you have to give me a name. Somebody must stay home.
In this squad that was named.
Yes.
No, for me, this is the settled squad that I Fent said.
But the coach,
I think Bania will be dropped.
Oh,
George, give me a name before I go.
Let them fight.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, people. You get a fair idea.
Yeah, I am not as privileged as Fent and Gary. I've stayed with the boys for some weeks, you know what I mean?
Okay,
so
well,
I'll leave it there.
I get your dilemma. I mean, I'm sure all of you have your settled 11. You may disagree with this. Put it up. Go onto our Facebook wall. Tag Gary, tag Fent, tag George. Tell them you disagree with them. Share yours as well. Don't forget, tag him. Twitter, he's there. Facebook as well. Let him know that what he put up there is wrong. You know, as then it's
people are going to agree on the goalkeeper.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Well, but George disagrees with both of you.
No, yeah, a lot of people will go with George's
goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, and I want to see this on social media, by the way. So let's see you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.